announced their commitment to a united and indivisible Nigeria.
The governors also resolved that the group, which had been declared a terrorist organization by the military, should channel its grievances, if any, to the Committee of Governors, Ohanes Ndibo, and National Assembly members from the Southeast Zone.
Southeast governors have taken concrete steps to protect lives and property of non-indigenous in the Southeast, and of course including the lives and property of indigenous in the Southeast as well. We are in touch with the Northern Governors Forum, and they have assured us of the safety of all our people living in the North. And we have also planned for exchange of visits between the governors. This is to reinforce the confidence of Nigerians.
The governors reassured the public that the governorship election, scheduled for November 18th in Anambra State, must hold.
All right, and joining me now in the studio to discuss issues arising based on the activities of IPOB in the Southeast Nigeria is Dr. Udenta Udenta. He's a socio-political analyst. You're welcome to Weekend File.
It's a pleasure being with you, Kierian. It's been a long time.
I understand that. All right, now, what's the reaction to the proscription of IPOB?
For me, everything is a consequence of process. I'm somebody who did not theorize struggle in the 90s under the Eastern Mandate Union and National Democratic Coalition, who suffered detentions. I do know, but it's a different platform, different strategy, different format of struggle under military dictatorship than you find on the democratic space. The tragedy of IPOB is that he used a strategy of military era kind of agitation in a democratic environment with constitutional order. I suspect the description of IPOB as a militant terrorist organization by the Defense Headquarters is an operational description, not a structural or institutional description. The structural description will go through a wider range of investigation and the due process in quote, and then some legal issues. But the operational description means what you find on the ground. What you find on the ground, the evolution of the movement from probably a basic, civil disobedience platform into something mutating to far more, serious threat to security and peace. Therefore,
that aspect you raised was actually going to be my second question, but it's good to raise it at this point.
Okay.
The issue of, describing the group as a terrorist group. You have just explained that. Now, the proscription of IPOB, did it come late?
It didn't come late because they're dealing with the democracy and dealing with human rights and dealing with the spaces for people to agitate, to contest ideas, to marshal out their grievances and so on. That's what democracy does. But the problem is that democracy opens the space for this kind of very robust conversation. But at the same time, if you do not apply the tools of democracy, common sense, humility, accepting the constitutional order of the moment, obedience, to the constitutional spaces available to you, respect of the government of the day, at the same time, being very robust in marshalling your ideas, like the governor said. Channel your grievances through established channels known to the state and known to the constitution. It will be respected and recognized. If you fail to do so, you could be misread. Take, for example, if you said you have a Biafran security service and they are uniformed, you don't have agents of the state there. They don't know whether you're serious, whether you're just grandstanding, whether it is bellicose rhetoric. If you said you have a national guard, it may well be propaganda, but there's no way they will know. And if you said you are reviewing your tactics and strategy to know whether it is non-violent or going to be violent or whatever, they can misread you. So intention may well be genuine in terms of being a peace-loving organization, but the method you adopted is very consistent with the demands of democracy and democratic governance.
Now, what should be expected now of the people of the southeast of Nigeria and of course the military following the...
My take is that the military has to refine its rules of engagement and conduct in the southeast if they continue with their Python dance, the Iweke. It must be consistent with national standard, army rule books, and international best practices. So you avoid civilian areas, avoid violation of human rights, and note and document anyone concerning any officer. Secondly, for the governors who have spoken, it is not enough to prescribe IPOB activities and at the same time ask them to channel their grievances through established channels. It is equally important to go further and proclaim a Marshall Plan for the Igbo youth. If they follow up with a Marshall Plan on employment, building industrial clusters, capacity building, reskilling and retooling the assets, and key qualities of the Igbo youth to involve them into governance, bring them back into civil society, bring them back into economic livelihood, like you pointed out earlier, it is going to stem discontent, stem contestation, and stem agitation.
Now, what should be your advice now to people who actually formed that IPOB group in the first place?
My advice should be, you must recognize the territoriality of Nigeria as a contiguous political geography. You must accept the implantation in that geography, a document called 99 Constitution that may be flawed, but it's our constitution. You must accept there's authority that flows from the federal to the state and the local government that you must harness in articulating and presenting your viewpoints and your grievances. If you accept this reality and function within the ambit of the rule of law and civil mode of disobedience that is legitimate and legal, IPOB can transform into a credible organization.
Thank you very much.
But if failed to do so, it may not work out for them.
Exactly. At this point, I'd like to thank you for honoring our invitation to, of course, give us an insight into the latest development in the southeast of Nigeria. Dr. Udenta is a socio-political analyst. Thank you once again.
It's a pleasure, Kierian, to be with you.
All right, now more news now. Governor Nyesom Wike has announced the recent activities of the indigenous peoples of Biafra IPOB in Oyibo and warned them to stay away from River State while urging all law-abiding residents to go about their businesses. The governor stated this in a state broadcast to the people and residents of River State.
As a people, we shall continue to support the unity and peaceful coexistence of all ethnic nationalities and work towards actualizing our collective aspirations. For while we commend the security agencies, especially Nigerian police, for their commitment to security of lives, property and investments in the state, we are constrained once again to condemn in clear terms the deliberate sabotage of the state security architecture by the direct criminal activities of the River State Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SAS.
Now, the Islamic community in River State has condemned the attack and vandalization of a mosque in Oyibo local government area of River State. Vice President of the River State Council of Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Nasir Uho, described the attack as premeditated, unprovoked, and unwarranted. In the wake of the security situation in the southeast of the country, the FCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello, rising from an emergency FCT security meeting, has appealed to residents in the nation's capital to go about their lawful duties without fear of molestation. He said all machinery are in place to ensure security of lives and property in the territory.
In the FCT, almost every tribe, religion, and culture is here, and we live harmoniously. And that's why I want to call upon our brothers and sisters, especially those from the southeast, to live here peacefully and continue to go about their trade, their commerce, and their life peacefully. The laws of the land are very clear. Whoever foments trouble will be arrested, and life and property will be protected.
I believe by the grace of God, we'll be able to stop any threat to peace in FCT.
In an effort to take precautionary measures against the breakdown of law and order following security breaches in some parts of the country, Governor Umaru Tanko Almakora has set up a security command center in Lafia. This is after an emergency meeting between the governor and all heads of security agencies, as well as leaders of Igbo community in the state.
We will be interfacing at intervals with all the security chiefs in the state. People should not exercise any fear. People should go about their duties. And our security agents will be going around town to patrol and to assure us that there's nothing to be worried about.
The meeting has given the Igbo community the needed assurance to continue to live in peace, to continue to do their business, and without any fear of molestation or any threat from any quarter.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has appealed for more calm in the country, welcoming the steps taken by the Southeast Governors Forum, prescribing the activities of the indigenous peoples of Biafra in the region. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Dayo Adeyeye, said this while speaking with newsmen at the PDP Secretariat.
Look, if you say you believe in non-violence, then you should by all means refuse to be provoked into violence. They should be able to study the tactics employed by the civil rights movement in America by the late Martin Luther King, who refused to be provoked under any circumstances. That is the tactics of non-violence. It has been employed in many parts of the world to great success.
The International Department of the CPC is responsible for the international exchanges of the party, and we have established relationship with political parties from more than 400 political parties from more than 160 countries.
The Abraka market in Asaba Oshimili local government area of Delta State has been invaded by unknown gunmen. The incident, which occurred at about 10:30 p.m. last night, is said to have left 4 persons killed. Now, the incident, which occurred at about 10:30, as you said earlier, Kelvin Obechie, who visited the scene, reports that there was heavy security presence with patrol vehicles parked at strategic locations to curb breakdown of law and order. The incident was confirmed by the Delta State Police Public Relations Officer Andrew Miyamaka.
Incident follow our Masalachi side, go drop something like brunette and carry gun, run away.
Yesterday we noticed the coming down of boys with black attire. Immediately they get to the Human Rights Office, they open fire with pumping action. Killed 2 people on the spot there.
So yesterday now, around 8:39, somebody called me and told me that there's an incident of bomb at the central mosque. I said, how manage? So I have to rush to the central bomb, the market. They show me the bomb. The bomb is there on the ground, but it's not exploded.
They killed 4 persons and the bullet injured 6 persons. He's saying he's telling government to come and intervene.
The senior special advisor to the governor on security matters, Cassidy Iloba, who addressed the people, said
the people of Obobia and Ondo communities in Obobu district of Tubo local government area of Benue State have continued to count their losses following a communal clash over land. Governor Samuel Otom, who visited the area, pledged government's commitment to bring the perpetrators of the violence to book. Bem reports.
He was alleged to have been killed and burnt in his vehicle, as a retired assistant superintendent of police, Christopher Ogleba, also lost his life. The Ondo community was deserted as its members fled for fear of reprisal attacks. Governor Samuel Otom condoled the family of the late ex-serviceman. The governor promised that the long arm of the law will catch up with those behind the violence.
2 wrongs can never make a right. I condemn this act.
Chairman Otukpo Local Government Council, George Ali, said, the crisis does not have political coloration, but a case of members of communities fighting over royalties accruing from land. The governor also visited St. Daniel's Hospital, Ugboju, where the injured are receiving treatment, and assured them of government's assistance in the payment of their medical bills. From Ugboju, Otukpo Local Government Area of Benue State, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
The Nigerian Air Force says it will not allow any individual or group of persons to interfere with its constitutional responsibility of upholding the nation's sovereignty. Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar reiterated this while reviewing ongoing operations of the Air Force in the Northeast.
Giving an assessment on the ongoing offensive to frustrate attempts by Boko Haram to establish camps in new locations around Sambisa Forest. The intensive airstrikes, codenamed Operation Ruwanwuta, he said, will continue as they get more intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance footages from the vulnerable areas.
We are more or less at the tail end of this operation. Let's just finish it up. And that is exactly what we set out to do, and I'm very happy from what I have seen in the last few days. We have done that. The most important thing for us is, as you are aware, is to ensure that our country is secured. Whatever.
Union Bank Nigeria PLC rolled out the drums Thursday evening in Enugu to celebrate 100 years of solid professional banking in Nigeria. James Oparikocha captured the glamour and fanfare that characterized the event.
Union Bank opened their first branch in Enugu in the southeast at Garden Avenue. With more potentials in the southeast, especially Enugu, more branches have been opened in the last 2 years. At Okwara Avenue, Garden Avenue, Night Mile, and Ogweti. Emene, Udi, and Nsoka are also coming up soon. This is aside the transformation the bank has undergone the last 3 years in over 120 branches across the country.
100 years of Union Bank is 100 years of everybody here.
Union Bank, in response to modern-day banking, changed their operational style.
But you know, technology is evolving. People that thought they are transformed as of 2009 are actually lagging behind today.
In July, Union Bank launched its new digital banking solutions, including USSD shortcode *826# with a new version of their mobile banking. The transformation manager speaks more on the new Union Bank.
The ability to know if an ATM you want to go to is actually dispensing cash and if it's active. No bank does that today. The risk of theft, when you go into the bank, you have money. We are taking that away. You can log in, contact an agent, they come to you, collect your cash, give you a receipt instantly, you get the alert even before they leave you. No bank does that through the mobile banking platform.
Some of the bank's customers and friends, including a 45-year-old customer, Professor Samuel Ohaibudam, narrates their experience with the bank.
Let me be blunt. I applied for a loan of 5,000 naira the first year of my banking with Union Bank. And they said, what is your collateral? I said, I don't have any. They said, no, but I persevered. But believe it or not, many years later, precisely in 2008, the same bank that denied me just 5,000 naira gave me millions of naira loan in order to execute a project in my hospital.
The night was indeed a centenary celebration of sort. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, the arrival of music icon Nelson Chibozo Azubike, popularly known as Fino. The celebration continues in different parts of the country. Like the assembled stallion, Union Bank continues to gallop. From Enugu, James Oparikocha, NTA News.
President Obiang Nguema Mbasugo of Equatorial Guinea has commended the existing cordial relationship between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea, expressing the desire to further strengthen the tie. President Mbasugo spoke when he received the letter of credence from the Nigerian ambassador to that country, Toko Ali Ngolugon. He commended President Muhammadu Buhari for exhibiting exemplary leadership, especially in the fight against corruption and insecurity. Ambassador Toko Ali Ngolugon promised to advance the cause of Nigerians in Equatorial Guinea. You can watch this news live online via the mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. We thank you for staying on the program up to this moment. The volume of water hitting the dams is unprecedented, according to experts, and controlled releases of water is a measure to protect the dams, as failure to do that would increase the volume of uncontrolled water around the dams, and this may have greater flooding impact on the surrounding communities and others located along the path of the released water in different states. Keep it here on Weekend File for further analysis on this. We'll be back in just a moment for our correspondent reports and, of course, the conversation that follows in just a moment.
From 1967 to 1970, Nigeria went through a horrifying civil war. It didn't matter who was wrong or right. Everybody suffered. Those who fought that war say it should never happen again.
So a lot of people will say, but you were leading the first one. Yes, I led the first one. I don't think a second one is necessary. We should have learned from that first one. Otherwise, the dead would have been to no avail, could all have been in vain.
The words of our elders are full of wisdom.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Hey, now who they here? My name now Mr. Shortcut. I dey mind my money. Now cheap one I dey buy. Standard, we say. Now to buy cheap one. Hey, now one kind cable for my yard. A cheap building material where we take build my office. I think say I dey save money. Office building collapse and fire burn my house.
You don't see what happened to Mr. Shortcut? Well, Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, don't ready for action and say enough of pain, loss and wastage. And if you see product where no dey correct, call the SON office where near you or SON help desk. Standards Organization of Nigeria, improving life through standards.
Availability. Check. Confidentiality. Check. Integrity. Check. Transformation in action. The 6 years of Governor Abdul Aziz Abubakar Yari in Zamfara State clearly manifest good governance and foresight. In fact, transforming the agrarian state to the promised land. Welcome to Zamfara, a state being governed by a visionary and dynamic leader whose magic finger is touching every aspect of human lives. No wonder Abdulaziz Yari is being referred as agent of Buhari's change mantra. Yari is bringing development closer to the Zamfara people and the nation at large. Zamfara, the pride of the nation. This message is brought to you by Iowa Media Group.
This is the game I've been waiting for, and I get a headache. But I remembered Mom's advice.
Son, don't let anything stop you, okay?
When headache strikes, I always trust Sudrex. Because Sudrex acts fast to relieve headaches. Sudrex, win your day.
The National Council for Arts and Culture, Nigeria, presents the closing ceremony for the African Arts and Crafts Expo 2017. The event comes to a close with lots of cultural awards and presentation of prizes. Date, Sunday, 17th September 2017. Venue, Arts and Crafts Village, beside Sheraton Hotels and Yerodo Center, Abuja. Time, 4 p.m. Special guest of honor, Executive Governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Yahaya Bello. Chairman of the occasion, Mrs. Winifred Oyo-Ita, Head of Service of the Federation. Royal Father of the Day, the owner of Abaji, Alhaji Adamu Yunusa. Mother of the Day, Abike Dabiri Erewa, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Diaspora. Chief Host, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Otumba Olusegun Ronsewe. Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. Host and Announcer.
Bayero University Abuja offers world-class education, uninterrupted academic session, and promising degrees. Bayero University Abuja is affordable and delivers quality with experienced international staff, superb facilities, overseas external examiners, and a serene academic atmosphere. We offer quality and affordable education, and students are within easy reach of their parents here at Bayero University Abuja. So learn to live at Bayero University for a brighter future. For more information, visit our website at www.bayeruniversity.edu.ng or call 081 3376 9657 or 081 3376 9658. Bayero University Abuja. Learn to live.
And you're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. During every rainy season, it is the expectation of farmers that a considerable amount of rainfall is recorded to pave way for a bumper harvest. But when the rainfall exceeds its average limit, leading to flooding, washing away farmlands and other valuables, it becomes a disaster. Eliasu Ali Yakubu examines the 2017 flooding and interventions by relevant stakeholders.
The 2017 rainy season came with its attendant consequences that ravaged about 27 states, with hundreds of thousands of people displaced and property worth billions of naira destroyed. Number of casualties is put at 46 persons across the country. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NEMA, predicted extended days of rainfall from 3 to 8 days non-stop in and around Adamawa, Ogun, Edo, Niger, Delta, Lagos, Rivers and Cross River State, with multiplier effects to River Benue and Kogi State. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in conjunction with Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency and Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, earlier issued warnings to residents in flood-prone areas to be evacuated and open waterways.
Since the focus was done as to the quantum of the flooding and where it will be experienced was done earlier in the year, specifically in March, give us an insight and give us all reason for us to prepare.
The flooding in most of the states has adversely affected general activities and businesses, subjecting flood victims to an untold hardships.
And people's businesses, livestock, farm produce were destroyed. And so, of course, it's going to take a while for people to get back to their lives. Some people's lives have been completely displaced.
I've been a victim here over the years. Throughout the night, me and my children, we couldn't sleep.
People are building along the road, keep building everywhere. It's not fair. We can't continue to take it like that.
NEMA swiftly intervened with relief materials and medical supplies to cushion the effects of the disaster in all the states affected. In Benue State, for instance, the agency deployed 13-trailer load of assorted relief items, in addition to 4-trailer load of cement and rice donated by the Nasarawa state government, and the future assured donation, as well as Miva rice and Naptip, among other spirited individuals who donated to alleviate the sufferings of the victims. Just as the flood victims are still counting their losses, another red alert was issued by NIMET on another possible imminent flooding, as Benin Republic and Niger are set to release its overflown dams and streams and advise immediate evacuation of communities in flood-prone areas. In Abuja, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
As Lagos residents grapple with the effects of July 10, 2017 devastating flood incident, the need for the state government to pay more attention to proper channelization of drainages has remained topical in various parts of the metropolis. Musa Toliat in this report takes a look at the situation.
Flash flood experienced in several parts of Lagos metropolis in July this year necessitated the move by the state government to desilt and clear drainages in some local government areas in the state.
We have desilted so many channels. The tertiary ones, at least 20 in each local government.
Experts, however, say there is more to be done in the areas of classifying flood-prone communities and addressing their immediate ecological challenges.
Climate change is a reality. We need to know the extent of the problem. Once we do that, then we'll begin to prepare, because it's going to keep occurring.
Residents along Lawansi Interior Road under Mushin local government area have been grappling with flood incidents occasioned by blocked drainages. There are also issues of canals overgrown by weeds, which makes proper channelization of rainwater impossible in Itire and Aguda areas.
You can see the kind of weeds we have over there. Once it is out, the water starts to overflow.
The people living here, most of them, they dispose their refuse in the gutter.
Suspension of reconstruction work on canals in some localities also portends danger.
Both left and right, they've just done maybe 1/4 of the job. We just noticed that the people did not show up again.
When it rains, the community is flooded and business activities are hampered.
They should help us for the canal in order to do the finishing.
Experts in climate change say much as the state government needs to do more in clearing drainages and expanding narrow ones, residents also need to change their attitude and stop dumping waste into drainages. In Lagos, Musa Toliad, NTA News.
Now, flood victims whose houses were not destroyed by water are expected to return to their homes as soon as the Benue State government takes steps towards closure of IDP camps in Makurdi. Charles Abba tells us more.
There is no doubt that flooding is a perennial phenomenon in Benue State. The one that happened in 2012, which was principally attributed to the release of water from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, cannot be forgotten in a hurry because of its catastrophic effects. But the recent flooding in the state that swept through farms and homes left behind thousands of people homeless and destroyed property worth millions of naira. Although the cause has been hinged on the abandoned EDF flood basin drainage project, some observers opined that building on waterways, poor drainage system, and the demographic nature of some of the affected communities are not unconnected to the incident.
The people are building along the road, they're building everywhere. It's not fair. We can't continue to take it like this.
The response of the federal government was swift as the Director General, NEMA, the Minister of Environment, and the Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, embarked on impact assessment visit to the state.
People are in serious devastating situation. They require some quick assistance, and we provided this.
And there are no adequate provision in terms of drainage facilities, and that, of course, is a major reason.
The latest is the visit of the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, where he assured the state government of assistance in construction of viable drainage and dredging of the river Benue as a permanent solution to the menace. While over 500 of the affected persons are in the camp provided by the state government, majority of the victims prefer to hang around their remaining belongings.
We are collecting data, we are going, so I can't give you a wrong figure, but that's about that.
However, 75% of our intervention is focused outside the camp because the majority of the victims are not in the camp.
As the people continue to ponder on what the future holds for them, they are optimistic that the right approach on time by the relevant authorities will wipe the tears on their face. In Makurdi, Charles Abba.
19 lives were lost to flood that ravaged more than 200 communities in 13 local government areas of Niger State this rainy season. Mukhtar Abubakar Wowo reports that the flood also washed away farmlands and livestock, with many houses submerged.
It has experienced floodings of varying magnitude in this 2017 rainy season. As at the time of filing these reports, statistics indicates that 229 communities were affected by the floods, with Mokwa local government area having the highest number of 66 affected communities, followed by Lapai local government area with 41 affected communities. Suleja local government area has the lowest number of 3 affected communities, with the highest number of 14 deaths, followed by Mashegu local government area with 4 deaths, while Borgu local government area recorded 1 death. Most of the affected communities are riparian dwellers.
We are ready to leave Ateni as soon as possible if the state government can do something about it.
Our drinking water has been contaminated. We are vulnerable to communicable diseases now. We want assistance from the government to interfere and assist us to just resettle us as soon as possible.
The Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Ahmed Ibrahim Inga, appealed to the federal government to look at the issue of resettlement.
We are looking at option of the settlement. We will design a 2-abort system. The settlement issue is capital intensive. We want also the federal government to look at issue of the settlement and put a committee to look at areas where federal government can come into.
Statistics also indicates that more than 5,000 people were affected, with an estimated 50,000 hectares of farmland washed away. In Mina, Mukhtar Abubakar reporting for Weekend File.
6 local government areas along River Niger in Kebbi State are expected to be affected by the flood when the river overflows its banks as water is released from Niger Republic. Correspondent Osman Abdullahi Shehu reports from Kebbi.
6 local governments along the banks of River Niger include Dandi, Bagudo, Kokobese, Shanga, Yawuri, and Ingaski. The flood has already affected 2 local governments of Dandi and Bagudo, which are at the entry point of River Niger into Nigeria. As the days go by and water continues to flow, it is expected that Kokobese, Shanga, Yauri and Ngaski, which are downstream, will be affected. The Acting Executive Director, Kebbi State Emergency Management Agency, Alhaji Abbas Rabiu Kamba, said camps have already been designated to accommodate people expected to be displaced by the flood. Alhaji Rabiu Kamba said the agency is also educating the public on the necessity for them to vacate lowland areas along not only River Niger, but all other rivers in the state as more rains are being expected.
Those people that are very close or front to the river, let them please move away to the safer side, because each and every local government there is a place where we provided for the those victims.
Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu had already visited Dole Kaina, the first place to suffer from the flood. During the visit, Governor Bagudu had directed immediate release of relief materials to the affected people. In the meantime, experts have said that the outbreak of diarrhea and vomiting is not the result of the flood because it started long before the onset of the current rainy season. The Director of Clinical Services, Yahya Memorial Hospital, Dr. Abubakar Kaoj, said it has not been ascertained that the disease was cholera.
So we've been having cases of diarrhea and vomiting. We may not definitely say it's cholera, because before you say it's cholera, you must have done some tests to confirm that it is cholera.
Dr. Kaoj, however, said the hospital has received and treated many patients.
In Benue, Kebbi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu.
Up ahead is a conversation segment when we will speak with an expert on floods, dams, and their functions. Do stay with us.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through reform.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm.
When the kings of African comedy gather under one roof,
there is only one outcome. Then we bring down the roof. Come witness the craziest
and the funniest, the oh my God,
and the baddest of them all. Laughter will scatter your brain well.
Come watch the biggest names in African comedy at Glow Laughter Fest. Basket Mouth, Bovi, I Go Die, Sheyi Law, Gordons, Salvador, Osama, Bash, Kenny Black, and many more.
You will never have a bigger gathering of jaw-dropping, whip-cracking comedians under one roof.
One microphone, one network.
All over Nigeria. Yeah, I'm gonna be there.
I am gonna be there. I'm going to be there.
Live and direct.
For the time of your life.
Will you?
To win a free ticket, use 2,000 Naira in a month and text LOL and your preferred location to 240.
Laughter Fest. Laugh go kill you, die.
True.
Glow Unlimited.
General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Moses Toyin Beckley. Mr. Beckley, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is not the first time I'm hosting you on this program on the issue of flood. And we have had floods that where triggered by torrential rains, almost in all the geopolitical zones of this country. And tonight we are laying emphasis on floods that will result from the deliberate release of water from dams, either dams in Nigeria or outside the country. So what's that all about?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's actually the season, and there have been alerts, you know, from all the respective government agencies. And you recall that on the 13th of June, with the support of very able Honourable Minister Engineer Suleiman Adamu, we came out with a flood outlook, you know, to sensitize the nation of what to expect in terms of flood scenarios. And I remember that we told the nation that in between 28 to 30 states will be affected, and also touching about 100 local government areas. And so far, over 20 states have been touched, and many local government areas. Yes, the flows have been fluctuating, you know. Sometimes it will equal the flows of 2012. And then, of course, it was predicted that this year there will be late onset of the rains, and there will be early cessation of the rains. Then when we now recall that what we receive on an annual basis, it's about a little over 1,000 millimeter, which of course results into, say, close to 300 billion cubic meter runoff. It's cause for worry. Now with the flows from outside through the river Niger and Benue, of course, when there are excess rains, when there are excess precipitation, the dam operators will be left with no option than to release the waters downstream. But they are also mindful of the devastation that could cause, and so they try to operate their dams very reasonably. And that is why, to a large extent, in spite of all these, I think there shouldn't be too much cause for worry. I'm saying this with a lot of caution, but then, as you know, if the flow of the water or the rivers are hindered in any way, then of course,
because of course, rivers across Nigeria they are growing, you know, they are rising, and let's look at it. The Kainji and Java dams on River Niger, Shiro Dam on River Benue, and of course on River Niger, and all these will converge, you know, and get to the confluence point in Lokoja, for instance. And what measures should be taken in this phase? Because we are almost certain that if Niger or Benin Republic try to release water from the dams, invariably the path of the water will of course get down to Nigeria and to some states and some communities, as you have mentioned earlier on. So what measures should be taken in Lokoja, for instance, which is the confluence point where all these rivers will eventually get to?
Yeah, right now the situations are being monitored, and we, with the stations that we have installed in these strategic positions, we have been coming out with necessary alerts and sensitization, and we're also monitoring what is coming from the outside. And I can tell you very happily that now, even at Kainji and Jeba, the dam operators have been wonderful, you know, and that is why you don't...
Maybe they're engaging in controlled release of water. Is
exactly.
That they're cautious?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you look at what has been happening, actually, most of the floods that have happened, they are flash floods in the semi-urban areas or in the urban areas as a result of long duration of this precipitation. And then, of course, with inadequate...
Now, how would Nigeria get to know when and the time, you know, in fact, the precise time when, you know, some dams in maybe other countries like Niger and Benin are going to release that? Are they going to inform Nigeria for us to get prepared for it?
Well, as you know, we have an MOU with Cameroon, for example, and if they're going to release more than the normal, then of course they will have to inform the Nigerian government so that adequate preparations can be taken. The same thing for the other flank of the Niger, because we are all members of the NBA, the Niger Basin Authority, and in the spirit of the NBA, if they are going to do any release that could be, in fact, they've been giving us alerts just some days ago.
From Benue and Niger, probably?
Yeah, yes, from the agreement station, which is upstream.
Because if these alerts, are sent in good time, right, preparations can be possible. Now, initially we heard about red alert, and now we also hear about orange alert. What is the difference? Okay, now there is even the yellow alert, and then the orange alert, and then the red alert. Now it's just a level. It's just a matter of categorization. Now the yellow alert is the first stage of the alert. Like when we recorded a value of about 5.8 meters, and upstream of Niamey, they sent this message to us, and that was to say that it was above the threshold, which was the normal threshold. Now, by the time it got to orange alert, then that was when the value was about 5.9. You can see now, by the time we say red alert, then it means that that is the extreme situation. There's a question I asked you earlier on concerning, preparations, for measures, for instance, in Lokoja. What should they be doing in Lokoja? Because I particularly experienced 2012, flood in Lokoja, and saw a little bit of the devastation. What should be done now? Should there be sandbags? Should there be some physical, some practical preparations like you see in other clients?
Yes. Well, I think in the case of Lokoja, for example, now efforts have been made to construct some kind of barriers along the perimeter, the river banks, and that has not been concluded actually. But if that were to have been concluded, it would really serve a great purpose. However, the one thing that you still find people, right there in those flood-prone areas. You still have some buildings there. You still begin to wonder if these people did not witness 2012.
Exactly. And the one which may be the final question, on this segment, to avoid colossal damage, for instance, in some states that have been, predicted that will experience this flood, should there not be a kind of synergy between maybe your agency and other relevant agencies, with the state governments of the areas, because of course you are so specific about the areas it will touch, and something should be done to avoid the colossal damage.
Yes.
In just a second.
Yes. Now, really, the agencies that the government, in her wisdom, has put in place have been synergizing. There's no doubt about it. And then, of course, ours is to alert the nation, but then the governments at the various levels, and even the communities and the individuals also have roles to play.
Having the information, so they should be doing something about it. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Moses Toyin Beckley is the Director General of Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. You're still watching Weekend File. Sports is next.
Thank you for having me.
For Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC is working to ensure access to safe, good quality essential medicines with the World Health Organization pre-qualification of made in Nigeria pharmaceutical products, stiffer penalties for fake drug offenders with a review of NAFDAC laws, national, regional, and international collaborations, cutting-edge technologies, including the mobile authentication service.
The production and distribution of counterfeit medicine and adulterated food products have negative impact on our health and economy as a whole. I urge all Nigerians to support NAFDAC in safeguarding our health. God bless Nigeria.
Let us support NAFDAC to win the war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Nigeria's Falconets began their qualification for the FIFA Women's World Cup on a promising note as the Africa Boxing Confederation Vice President is sure of world champions in Nigeria. Adiola Mokibi has more on Sports Update.
The week-long IPOB Year of Africa 2017 developmental program for coaches, referees and judges and new entrants to boxing ended in Lagos, with the participants eager to practicalize what they have been taught. Vice President, Africa Boxing Confederation, expressed confidence that Nigeria will in the nearest future produce world and Olympic boxing champions after observing the participants.
The coaches take another 2 stars to be 2 stars. That's very good. That's very good for Nigeria.
The Nigerian Communications Commission's Tennis League in the Lagos zone saw home side take 3 out of the 4 points on matches played Saturday at the tennis section of the National Stadium, Lagos, working hard to improve on their last 2 home outings. Sponsor of the league expressed satisfaction with their level of play.
Some of the skills that are discovered there, the talent, is also perhaps maybe from this display they can get sponsorship for international competition. The
2015 AfroBasket defending champions, Nigeria's D-Tigers, relinquished their title to Tunisia on Saturday as they lost by 77 to 65 points in the hard-fought final. Senegal beat Morocco 73 to 62 points to take the 3rd position. On match day 1 of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifier, Nigeria's Falconets thrashed visiting Tanzania by 3 unreplied goals at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City on Saturday. The return leg is expected to hold in Dar es Salaam on October 1. While the aggregate winner will face either Morocco or Senegal in the next round to qualify for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup to be hosted by France in 2018. And in the Week 5 of the English Premier League matches played Saturday, it was a 6-0 bashing for Watford at home by visiting Manchester City. Newcastle beat Stoke City 2-1, while Liverpool, Huddersfield and West Brom drew their matches. With Sports Updates, Adeola Mokivie, NTA News.
And the weather outlook is where we go next.
To the weather segment. So much for the unpredictability of weather in a varying climate. At a time when rains over the extreme north should be getting sparse, we notice a resurgence in propagating weather systems as reflected here, giving copious rainfall amounts to Kano, Katsina and Sokoto axis. A good supply of moist southwesterly winds flowing into the country and feeding into these weather systems here give good prospects of rainfall activities come Sunday. Thunderstorms and rains are likely over most parts of the country. Areas expected to have copious rainfall amounts include Sokoto Yelwa axis, Yobe, Sambisa, Adamawa, Bauchi, Jos, Benue, Nasarawa, the Federal Capital Territory, Kogi, Kaduna, Niger, the inland areas of the southwest, and the coastal parts of the country. Climate temperatures should attend these weather events. And here is the temperature profile.
And before we go, a reminder that you can watch all our stories and much more when you log on to our website, www.nta.ng. And that's our show tonight. I hope you had a great time watching the program. We'll return again next week for another edition of News, Views, and Analysis. From all of us here is good night.
Our programs are getting better and fresher. And
It's because we are thinking about you. NTA, it's all about you.